Okay, so let's just jump right in. What if I told you that a complete, operational manual for a traversable wormhole was just released online? I'm not talking about a theory or some dense research paper. I mean a step-by-step blueprint. Let's dive into the incredibly strange and fascinating documents behind what's being called the ZPE Resonance Drive.
Right off the bat, from the very first page, the document makes a really bold claim. This isn't just some sci-fi fantasy. It's presented as declassified information, a secret that's been deliberately hidden from all of us. It immediately sets this high-stakes, almost conspiratorial tone for everything that comes next.
So the story goes that in late 2025, this set of super detailed technical documents just appeared online. And the claim was insane, that this was the key to interstellar travel. The authors are really insistent, too. They say it's not a proposal, it's a working guide.
So what is this thing really? Well, the documents break it down into a few main systems, and each one has a very specific and, let's be honest, very exotic purpose. All right, let's look at the anatomy of this machine. At its heart, you've got this massive torus, a donut shape, filled with superconducting mercury. Then there's something called a quantum error correction array, or a QEC array, that basically acts as a stabilizer. The power system is an absolute beast. We're talking a 2 gigawatt capacitor bank. And, maybe most importantly, there's a really sophisticated control system designed to, prevent the whole thing from blowing up. Now, firing this thing up isn't simple. It's described as a super precise 5-step dance. It starts by locking onto the Earth's own natural electromagnetic frequency, the Schumann resonance. Then you inject plasma, stabilize it with something called a time crystal, and ramp the power up to a critical point. And that all leads to the final and, frankly, mind-blowing step.
This number right here, this shows you the sheer scale of what we're dealing with. 47 terawatts. To put that in perspective, that is more than double the power consumption of all of human civilization, all at once, but concentrated into a single pulse that lasts less than a second. This, they claim, is the moment the wormhole is literally ripped open.
So you're probably asking, how could anyone possibly believe this? Well, the authors offer up what they call the master checksum. It's a single, very bizarre equation that they claim is the ultimate proof that this whole system is legit.
And this really is the central mystery, isn't it? Is this equation some kind of genuine physical key, a deep truth about how the universe works that ties all of this crazy technology together? Or is it just a really clever, elaborate coincidence designed to make the whole thing look real?
The equation is built from these 9 numbers, these 9 constants. And just look at where they come from. It's such a weird mix. Some are from established physics, like the Schumann resonance. But others are supposedly from classified research, a secret value for the Casimir coefficient, and even a kill switch frequency that they say is designed to shut down global ionospheric heaters. It's this strange cocktail of public science and black project lore.
And here it is. This is the core of their entire claim. The authors state that if you take these 9 wildly different values, we're talking frequencies, power levels, times, even that secret coefficient, and you multiply them all together, the result is numerically equal to one of the most fundamental constants in the entire universe, the speed of light squared.
And here's the paradox, the part that makes your brain hurt. The numbers are incredibly, stunningly close. I mean, they match within just 0.13%. That feels like it has to mean something, right? But there's a huge problem. The units, the physics of it, are a total mess. It makes absolutely no sense. You can't just multiply these things together and get a meaningful physical answer. So you're left with this numerical miracle sitting right next to a fundamental, glaring physical flaw.
To try and explain how any of this could even be possible, the documents lay out this really elaborate secret history, and it all centers around the very real HARP facility up in Alaska.
According to their story, this all started way back in 1954, when a key piece of physics was classified and hidden away. Then, in 2002, a HARP experiment supposedly went wrong, or maybe very right, and created a permanent micro-tear in space-time. The story then claims a secret test was detected by a Vatican telescope in May 2025, which basically forced the whistleblowers to release everything to the public that December. It's a narrative that's just plausible enough to make you think.
And why would they release it? Well, their stated reason is actually pretty powerful. They argue that a technology this transformative, this world-changing, can't be trusted to governments who weaponize it, or corporations will sell tickets to the stars to the super rich. It has to be open-sourced for everyone. An ethical stand to democratize access to the universe. But right when you're getting pulled into this incredible story of secret science and noble rebellion, the whole narrative takes a sharp, unexpected turn. Because, you see, the most shocking revelation in all of this comes from the authors themselves.
And what's so wild here is where this quote comes from. This isn't from some critic or a debunker trying to tear it all down. No, this is a direct quote from a code comment in one of their own files. They are openly, almost proudly, pointing out that their own math is broken.
And they don't just admit to one little flaw, they give you a whole list. That dimensional inconsistency in their master checksum, a critical missing variable, numbers that were just chosen to fit the answer instead of being derived from actual theory. They basically hand you a checklist of all the reasons why their own work, well, doesn't work. Okay, so let's try to put the two sides of this puzzle together. On one hand, you have this incredibly confident, bold claim right at the start of the whole thing. This is a complete operational manual. And then, on the other hand, you have this statement from their own failure analysis, which is basically a cry for help to fix their broken framework. So, how can something be a complete manual and an exposed failure at the exact same time? This contradiction is the real heart of the whole project.
So, where does that leave us with all this? It's pretty clear this isn't a straightforward blueprint you can just go build in your garage. So let's look at a few ways we could try to interpret what this thing really is.
First, maybe it's just an incredibly elaborate hoax, or a new kind of science fiction that tells its story through technical documents instead of a novel. Second, maybe it's a profound thought experiment designed to push physicists to question their core assumptions. Or third, and this is the most radical idea of all, maybe this is a new model for how science gets done, releasing big, brilliant, but broken ideas out into the wild for the entire global community to fix together.
And that really leaves us with one final provocative question. We tend to obsess over whether science is right or wrong. But maybe that misses the entire point here. If a blueprint is openly, admittedly flawed, but it comes with an invitation for the whole world to help solve it, which is more important, the error itself or the invitation? I think how you answer that says a lot about what you think the future of discovery should look like.